So did you know that in the United States there are over 76 million freelancers and over half of them are women? With being overworked and underpaid and with all the layoffs that are happening right now, freelancing is becoming the norm. I'm going to share how I started freelancing and give you some tips on how to make a career that actually works for your family. Hi, my name is Christine. I'm a wife, a mother, and for the last 8 years I've been a freelance writer. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 6 of those years. I also, last year, just wrote and self-published my first children's book called Santa's Twin. In these videos, I'm hoping to share my experience as a mom and as a freelance writer and as an author. I also want to give a couple of design tips for living in a smaller home. So there are a whole host of reasons to go freelance, especially as a mom. You're going to be home with your kids more often when they're little. You want to have more time to keep your house clean, or just, give time to yourself every once in a while. And in my experience, it is one of the best things I have ever done. So I'm a freelance writer, but the tips that I'm giving really could work for anything from bookkeeping, virtual assistant, or even a consultant of some sort. When I decided to start freelancing, I wasn't a mom. And honestly, being a mom wasn't even in my thoughts. I was actually ready to start something totally new because I was burnt out. I worked in nonprofit for over a decade, and that's a lot of hours, usually 50, 60 hours a week sometimes, for very little pay. And I had become, because of nonprofit world, a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I was looking to kind of find a way to improve a skill, at least one, and be able to kind of promote myself that way. When I became a mom, only a year after I started, I realized how much I really appreciated being freelance and having my hours to myself to do what I needed to. So when I started freelancing, I didn't have much of a plan. I just knew I needed to get out of my situation that I was in right then, and I was looking for something else. But I knew I needed an income. So what I did is I talked to my boss at the time and asked them if they would be interested in becoming my first client. So since I had worked on the marketing plan for the upcoming year in my job, I knew exactly what needed to get done. So I picked out the things that I wanted to do, and I broke them down, and I said, okay, you need this, 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 and this done this year, and I can do all of these for this amount of money. Now, he jumped at that. I was lucky in the fact that my boss knew how I felt. He was feeling very similar at the time. So he took the opportunity to save the organization some money and hire me as a freelance contractor. Now, that is not always an opportunity for everybody, but if you are working full-time and you're getting ready to quit and go freelance, always check with your employer to see if they'll be interested in becoming a client. After all, they've trained you already, and they know what you're worth, and they know the quality of work that they're going to get from you. So why not use it to your advantage? Another thing you could do is talk to past employers or friends and family, see what work they might have for you, or see if they have any contacts that they can put you in contact with. So something you're going to want to do in the beginning is choose a niche. Like I said, when I first got started, I had been working with nonprofits and had been more of a jack of all trades. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to do it for an employer. So what I did is I tried virtual assistant. I kind of tried a little bit of everything at first. I tried being a virtual assistant. I did some design work. I did some website work. I did some drop shipping even. So I just kind of threw myself out there trying a little bit of everything. And it wasn't until one of my friends on Facebook contacted me and said, you're actually a really good writer. Would you like to write a blog? And until she had said that I was a good writer, it hadn't occurred to me how much I had been writing, and how much I liked it. So after she had mentioned that, I started looking for opportunities to kind of delve into that side of things. And I niched into a freelance writer. It wasn't until after I had my daughter that I realized I needed some more consistent work. My employer, who had become my first client, was with me for about the first 3 years, and they gave me probably up to like $20,000, maybe $30,000 altogether. But it wasn't consistent. It was generally project related. And at the time, I was looking for more consistent because that's what I thought I needed. Especially after my husband went back to school, consistent work was a necessity. So I started looking around to see where I could find more blog writing, more writing of sorts, and I realized blog writing at the time was more of like a weekly, monthly kind of income that I could count on. So I looked on Upwork, which when I started was a lot better resource. Now they still offer there, but kind of the options there are a little bit less. But there's still Google. There's still plenty of ways that you can find some freelance writing gigs out there. And so I looked at ways to write blogs. I found a client who was interested in writing blogs, and I wrote on everything from maintaining your pool, keeping it clean, and finding the best work boots, and finding probiotics that work for your body. And the more I wrote those articles, the more I had to add to my portfolio. So I built my website and I started to promote myself as a writer and put these specific articles online. And I could say, hey, this is the style of writing that I do. This is the quality of work that I can do. Eventually, I did find the perfect job for me as a writer, which is writing blogs and different pieces about nonprofit fundraising and events and things like that. So, one of those times where it just kind of fell into my lap. And that was when I realized I was a really good writer and I could do this for a living. Now, when I started writing for the nonprofit organization, I was able to put my name on those articles, and that was when things really changed for me. What I could do then is start sharing them on LinkedIn, putting those on my websites as well, and start really sharing it with my name and the article, and the fact that I knew how to do SEO. I knew what different clients liked and what they needed. And so people started coming to me when they saw my writing. So the more I wrote for this one client, the more different organizations started coming to me. I started being kind of a go-to person for the SaaS companies that were targeting nonprofits. And so I started getting some good work. So I came across an issue when my niche got a little too focused. I started working only for SaaS companies that were targeting nonprofits. And the problem is they're in competition with each other. They started wanting me to sign contracts that were saying that I could only work for them. And that really limits your income as a freelancer. As a freelancer, you cannot have just one client. I fell and I gave into that a little too often, and it got me stuck. So this is a recommendation that I would do is, yes, you want to niche down, but niching down to just a writer, even just a vague idea of it, and make sure that you have plenty of clients and different types of organizations that you could work with. That's a mistake that I made that I really wish I hadn't. Now, if you've been paying attention to the news or really life in general, you've noticed that AI has changed some things. This is especially true for freelance writing. So as a freelance writer, AI was kind of, the boogeyman. So people would say that, oh, freelance writing is completely done. That is not true. But AI has changed the industry in general. You used to be able to get away with writing not so great articles and still people would hire you. Now there's a lot, you're in competition with a computer and a system. Basically, you're in competition with a system that can supposedly remember everything. Basically, you're in competition with plagiarism because you're in competition with everything on the internet. What I have learned with AI is that I kind of got tired of writing the same thing over and over, and my skills and my writing had gotten worse. So I kind of chose a different way to address the AI issue in my life. And that was to start writing different things, like my children's book. I wanted to kind of put myself out there, improve my writing skills. And I'm still doing that. I'm just going to be focusing on different types of writings this year instead of focusing on nonprofit that I had been doing for the last 8 years. So the number one thing about AI is that you're going to have to do your own research. Never count on AI for research. The number of videos that I have seen that says AI just out and out lies about giving you facts and figures should show you that AI is not up to what they're saying it is. But AI can be a useful tool. I use it for if I'm forgetting a word or if I just kind of want something to bat ideas back and forth with. It's nice for that. The other thing is AI and Google doesn't like AI. I've had clients tell me they do not want me to use AI because they will rank lower on Google. So specifically ChatGPT, but even Grammarly. I use Grammarly all the time to check me to do kind of simple edits on my papers, but they want you not to use those tools if you can avoid them. So that also tells you that AI isn't up to what they're selling it as. The best way that I have found to address the AI issue is to build your brand. I had inadvertently built a brand as a nonprofit expert. I am trying to break out of that brand now, which makes it a little bit harder for me. But if you can build a brand to kind of choose what you want to brand yourself as, especially if you're starting new, find out what you want to write about, choose what you want people to think about, and start branding yourself first. That is the way that you're going to get clients coming to you. And that's something that AI can't do. Finally, the big thing about being a freelance writer is when do you find the time to write when you have a kid, especially in the beginning when you've got a baby. So I would love to say that I was the type of mom who could do the writing and do the work while my child slept. I was never that person. So I really, really needed somebody to watch my daughter when I was working. I would choose 1 or 2 or 3 days where I'd say, okay, this is my day, so I'm going to sit down and write and focus. And I was lucky, and I'm very lucky just because my mom lives in the same neighborhood and she is retired. So I was able to send my daughter over to be with her grandma, which both of them love, and I'm able to sit down and do my work. Now, my husband is also a student at that time, so when he wasn't in class, wasn't doing his internships, he was able to watch my daughter too. So really, you find the time when you can. Some people are fantastic at being able to work when their children sleep. I wish I was one of you, trust me. But unfortunately, if my daughter was sleeping, I was sleeping too. Otherwise, she would not sleep. We'll get into that later on in my videos. We'll talk about how badly I did that sleep training thing. But finding a village is number one especially when you're a freelance writer. So find anybody to watch them while you're working. It will make things a lot easier. I'll be sharing more tips and ideas that I've come across on my journey. So if that interests you, I would love if you would subscribe and be part of my community. I also want to let you know next month I will be sharing an entire series on how to self-publish and market your own book. So please join me for that. I think I have a lot of information to share on some things that went really well for me and some things that I'm hoping to improve. Also, if you're a mom and you have a child just learning how to read that you're looking for books, I would love if you would check out my book, Santa's Twin. You can find that book on my website. I will link it below, and I have a video right here to give you an idea of what it was about. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.